come to the Q&A session for the last session of the conference about the progressive technologies transforming the agri-food chain. I welcome all the speakers, Mr. David Seymour, Gaurav Sharma, Dr. Tariq Al-Ansari, and Fadi Sbeiti. And I would encourage all the audience also to start dropping their questions as we get along in this session for the next 20 minutes. In the meantime, I have a question for the first speakers, David and Gaurav. You talked about various technologies are impacting the fertilizer industries, and also we see new players, new capacities coming up, new startups as well, adding to the international capacities of fertilizer. How do you think the fertilizer companies should respond to this new competition?
Thank you, Ahmed. Sure, I'll take this up. I think agri-tech or technologies in agriculture is a very vast field, and it is difficult for a traditional agrochemical company that they can develop all these technologies in a way that they have a fast speed to the market. So here I think it is very important for the fertilizers companies to have some kind of partnership or collaborations with these new players or startups. And we have talked about so many varied areas such as precision farming, which is again a set of technologies, or CEA or vertical farming, which is again, a different ball game, soil microbiome with a focus on biotech, or sustainable fertilizers options such as organic or bio-based, and possibly many other innovations that we did not also talk about in our presentation. But it is difficult for a fertilizer company or an agrochemical company to pursue all these areas with equal vigor. And so the best possible way is to see these new technology companies as possible partners, or you can also, go through the investment route and accordingly adapt your business models. And we have seen, few of the few large fertilizer companies already doing it in areas such as precision farming or soil microbiome. But having said that, the large peers in the crop protection companies like Bayer, Syngenta, Corteva, they have been more proactive, and they have been doing it much better, I would say. And one very good example of such collaboration, it is from the space of indoor farming or vertical farming. So Mr. Fadi can also add, but we have seen a consortium such as Precision Indoor Plants, and it consists of various bodies like Food and Agricultural Research, AeroFarms, BASF, and crop genomics platform company Benson Hills Biosystems, LED company Fluence Bioengineering, even the genetics company Intrexon, or the Japan Plant Factory Association, and plus Priva, which is the automation group. So the aim here of this consortium is to optimize the plant architecture for controlled environments, advance the speed of breeding technologies, and it's a very good platform where all these companies from different domains, they have come together to develop I would say more useful technologies for indoor farming. I hope that helps. Yeah.
Thank you. Definitely, it would need collaborative between the both sectors to go on win-win situation, because at the end the aim is same for securing the food. And coming also to same topic, Dr. Tariq, you presented very interesting and you showed very interesting project that the university is taking up in collaboration with the also private sector. And could you tell us what could be the challenges to implement such a project, or have you faced challenges at the beginning of the project?
I think for us academics, definitely having access to real life facilities is very important for us. So whilst we know how to do certain things, without industry, it's very difficult to actually implement some of the research. So number one for us, for sure, it's industry collaboration, because some of the facilities they have is really world class from a research environment. So this is, for me personally, the number one challenge. having the facilities and having access to this. So without our partners, we couldn't have started doing what we were doing. And then it's just when the gates open, the research just happens. To be honest.
Thank you. I think one question is coming up from the audience. Says, I'll just throw the question and it's up to the speakers to comment on. Are the government bodies, regulators coming up with the targets or plans for green ammonia production as part of GHG abatement strategy? Is it for the first speaker, I believe?
I would say, I mean, governments definitely they have been very proactive in terms of pushing sustainable agriculture, and we have seen that especially, I mean, the European Green Deal, where they want to reduce the fertilizers use or reduce the use of pesticides. Similarly, we see innovation agenda for USDA, US Department of Agriculture, and likewise, I mean, many other governments across the world, they really want to make a hard push for having sustainable agriculture. Definitely, green ammonia, I would say it's a very new field at the moment, and a lot of companies and also governments, they're probably just waiting, and they're also looking at how this sector can develop. But having said that, I mean, the traction in the industry has already started. I mean, we are already seeing companies like Yara, CF Industries, they're already making changes to their ammonia plants to have green ammonia. And I mean, in the same league, we have seen big investments in Saudi Arabia, where we are trying to set up a $5 billion worth of investment for green ammonia. And if we talk about blue ammonia, then again, I mean, the shipments have already started. We have seen these shipments going from Middle East to Japan, and Japan is one of the very proactive customers. So when we say governments, so when we have very proactive governments like Japan, there's definitely a market, and this would also encourage all other companies to be part of this opportunity, right?
Thank you. We are still waiting for the audience also to send the questions as we have around 12 minutes to go in the session. I would go for the third speaker, Fadi Sbeiti, and the interesting sophisticated system that you introduced about R&D in crops. And it's good also to see such an R&D center is available also in one of the GCC countries, apart from USA. And in 10 years to come, around or just near future or midterm, what would be the percentage of the market share do you think that such a crop will have, besides the conventional?
The CEA and the aeroponic technology that AeroFarm has developed, it's at an advanced stage in merging the science and the technology in order to have the best yields possible in a very limited footprint for a farm. So what I can say that we're still at the beginning of this new trend, and with the advancement of technology and the adoption of new methods, I'm sure that the staggering numbers we're achieving now, these limits could be pushed even further. Now, within 10 years, this is a very long forecast that I will not go into the game of numbers. But what I know is that the adoption of CEA in the GCC countries, it's part of their diversification plan for food security, and the access to fresh greens, specifically around the major cities, whether it's a city as big as Riyadh or Dubai. The CEA could provide a continuous supply of fresh greens to those urban centers. And hopefully with the advancement of science and technology, more types of produce could be brought to the shelves, mainly berries, and hopefully soon also some cherry tomatoes. So there's still lots of work, and the trend is still at its beginning. There's lots of investments in this, and lots of governments that are interested in investing in this technology and pushing it further. As I said, it's part of the food security strategy for countries like GCC.
This is a brilliant actually idea and brilliant R&D, and what you are doing is, I think, needs all the support as well, because at the end it is also the security for the GCC and for the world as well.
Thank you.
Back to the first presenters, David and Gaurav. I have another question to you, because you talked about outcome-based business model as a possible option that could be explored by fertilizer companies. How successful you think these models could be in the near future?
Sure. So I would say, well, to understand this, we should think for whom the outcome-based models they will be beneficial. And if we talk about the farmers, they see a lot of value in the model, as they are paying for a product that gives them a certain guarantee of yield for their crops. And that is why we see a good willingness amongst farmers to explore this model. I mean, a recent survey done by Bayer Crop Science, it revealed that 74% of the farmers would actually will be more likely to purchase a product with outcome-based pricing. And if I talk about the fertilizer companies, then also it makes more sense, as it helps to have a higher possibility of selling their products to the farmers. And if the fertilizer company of the future could have many streams of revenues, such as precision farming services or carbon services, etc., then it also gives the fertilizer companies a preferred access to the farmer to establish a deeper relationship and being a one-stop shop for its entire portfolio of services. So the intent is here from both the sides, the farmers and the fertilizer companies. It just depends on how they can find a win-win pricing model, which is beneficial for both the stakeholders. I mean, we have already seen the pilots being done by Bayer Crop Science and Syngenta for outcome-based pricing, and responses have been positive.
Thank you. Back to Dr. Tariq. You mentioned in your presentation this project that you are working on would contribute to the country's vision by 2023 for the food security strategy to reach up to 70%. So how far this project would contribute in the near future for Qatar's strategy?
I think what we focus on mainly is it's important to enhance food security. It's important to intensify food production, but where our main objective comes in is to do so sustainably. So to grow food is important, but also to minimize water consumption and then minimize energy consumption. So these three things have to happen together for you to have sustainable food intensification. So where we come in is trying to develop the methods to allow us to get to enhanced food production, but also sustainable water utilization and sustainable energy utilization also. So that's from some of the machine learning and AI methods that we deploy, where we use the data to allow us to have more informed decisions. But that's on one hand. On the other hand, yes, it's important to grow food, but it's also important to protect against disease. So here we apply our imaging techniques to try and predict if there is a certain scenario where there is a disease breakout, etc. We can try and predict it beforehand. So much of what we do is predictive. We want to be predictive rather than reactive. Predictive in the sense that this will allow the farmer to make better decisions. So to answer your question, perhaps I didn't answer directly. Our work is one part of a grander objective, I think.
Thank you very much, Dr. And we wish all the success to your project. And also we look forward to benefit from your experience. There is one question from the audience to Fadi. Was indoor farming proven economically in sunshine-rich countries like GCC compared to high-tech glass or plastic greenhouses making full use of sunshine?
In fact, the economies of scale has been achieved in our farms in the US, but we're more confident concerning the economies of production in the GCC. This is mainly because more than 95% of the produce on the shelves of the GCC countries are imported. So reaching economies of scale should be achievable. We don't have those numbers yet, but knowing the low cost of energy in GCC countries and the cost of importing the fresh foods from elsewhere, whether from Africa, India, or other Arab countries, is pretty costly. This puts us in a position where we could easily match the pricing on the shelves.
Thank you. And reviewing all the presentations, the interesting presentations about the technologies, and I would see that there is one common maybe threat to the traditional conventional fertilizer industry, that is the revolution of such technologies in the field of the crops yield. So I just need a general comment beside what Grab already answered, how to be more collaborative and how to integrate, I would say, with the conventional fertilizer, with the new upcoming project, as well as we see new projects coming up every year.
Yeah, I guess with all, similar to all the new technologies and the new trends that are emerging. So the existing large mega players, they need to reach out and understand more the new industries and the trends and what are like the specific needs, so that despite the small market share that CEA takes versus the rest of the traditional agriculture, but it is a very promising field, and those large players for the nutrition supply, reaching out, understanding more the needs, how this new technologies work and how its ecosystem comes together for such a production. So it's definitely a key and a building block. Second would come the ability of those large producers to customize some of their production and tailor it toward the CEA needs and the specific requirements of, like, our system is misting, other technologies use different environments of providing the nutrients to the roots. So knowing each technology, knowing the limits of what their current offering has, and looking into different offerings specifically tailored for the CEA would definitely be an addition. And it seems they have some time to get that. They're not way late, although the trend has already started, but they can still catch up.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for attending this Q&A session. I would thank also the speakers for the interesting presentation and interesting interactive as well. And we hope to see you again in future events. Now I would have to hand over for the closing remarks by Dr. Abdulwahab Saadu. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.